let's dive into the Cubase. When you install it and open it for the first time, you will see the window like this. Here you can see videos about Cubase, some tutorials, manuals, support, and so on. In this area there is a lot of templates. Here we can see projects that were opened before. And in this area we can customize where Cubase will save our projects. Let's create empty. And what we need to do the first, Studio Setup, and we need to choose our sound card. I'm using Ermi Babyface Pro FS, so I choose this driver. Okay, the next, Studio, Audio Connections, and we need to put inputs and outputs. Click Add the bus and choose your sound card for inputs and for outputs. Let's drag and drop two samples, one 44 kHz, the second is 48 kHz. Our project is 48 kHz, and we see that project that was 44 is compressed. So we need to fix it in the future. So go Edit, Preferences, and click this button. Convert to project settings. Okay. This is two important things for beginning. Let's talk about buffer size. Go to Studio, Studio Setup, and Control Panel. And here you see buffer size and latency. What it means? If you click a small value of buffer size, it will be a small latency. It's perfect when you play in a MIDI keyboard on a real piano, for example, but it's very hard for our PC. And when you click a high buffer size, it will be a very big latency, and it's very hard and uncomfortable to play on a MIDI keyboard. So you need to choose an ideal value for comfortable work. I'm choosing this value when I'm playing a MIDI keyboard, and for example this or higher when I'm mixing and mastering my tracks. Let's talk about button panel, but first of all let's drag and drop one sample here. Okay, now we have a sample in our project. Let's check these buttons. The first, go to previous marker and go to next marker. Let's go to the beginning and to the end of our sample. The next is the loop button. If we want to loop this section, we need to choose this icon and click left mouse, and we see this blue line. And click this button. And now we have a loop. And a small life hack, if we want to have a very fast loop, we can click on this sample and click Alt-P together. And our sample starts. And we have a loop. Okay, the next button is a start, stop, and a record. I'll talk about this button a little bit later. On this button we can change our tempo, click, double click, and or for example we can click left mouse and change it. And we can change a time signature, for example 7/8. Double click and change. And in this button we can activate or deactivate our metronome, and if we click on this button we can change metronome settings. And two words about delay compensation button. For example, if we have some limiter on our master channel. And when you have this limiter on your master channel, to play on a MIDI keyboard, it's very uncomfortable because you have a lot of time delay. And if you click on this delay compensation button, Cubase automatically deactivates all plugins and you have a very small delay. And you can play on your MIDI keyboard with a small delay. And if you click again on this button, Cubase turn on all our plugins. And 2 words about tempo track. In this area, click and add a tempo track. For example, we have this standard tempo, but we want to make it faster from this beat. Let's check snap is on, okay, and boom. And from this beat, let's go to standard. We can deactivate this by this button, or we can delete it. Right mouse, right click, and remove selected tracks. And we can duplicate or delete our events and click on it, right mouse, duplicate tracks, or we can delete it, shift, click, right mouse, remove selected tracks. Let's take a look at the main Cubase windows. About my Cubase. Okay, but first of all, let's drag and drop one sample again. Okay, now we have this sample. And let's check this area. The first object selection tool. We can select our sample and change its position, make its doubling, and so on. And here, if we click on this button and choose this sizing applies time stretch, we can make these interesting things with our sample, stretching our sample. The next, range selection. The next, draw. We can draw volume automation here on our sample. Or if we have, for example, a MIDI event, we can write this MIDI. Let's delete it. Let's delete this information. Okay, the next, we can erase our sample. We can split it. Now we have this snap. Snap is on. 1, 4. If we click 1, 1, it will be 1 beat. For example, 1, 8, and so on. The next, it's a glue. We can glue our samples and mute. The next, it's a color. We can color our sample, or we can color the whole line. Just click here on this area. Or we can color the whole line. Just go on this area, click Shift and mouse wheel. The next snap is on off. This grid type, I'm using this, use Quantize, but somebody use Adapt to Zoom or Bit or Bar, but this configuration is the most comfortable for me. And this Quantize presets. Channel. We can disable these windows in this area. This is a very important window. We can choose our inserts here. Distortion. and so on. Some sense, we will see it in the future. We can change our volume here and panorama. You can see that volume and panorama are doubling here in this window in Inspector. And we can write and read automation. I'd like to show you what it is. For example, we have this sample. And I want it starts from the deep. Let's take some equalizer. Let's click on write and read. Okay, let's click on this button, and now we have this. We can disable it. The next important window is Inspector and Visibility. In this window we can disable our visibility of samples. And here we can mute, solo, write automation again, volume, panorama, some delay. In this area we can add our audio tracks, instrument tracks, MIDI tracks, some effects, folder tracks, and so on. In the next big window, where are all audio files, all MIDI files, and where all work happens. On the next window we see VST, Media, Control Room, and Meter. Let's do this on the center. And we can see volume. Control Room, we will check it in the next videos. It's Media. We can find this some instruments. If we click on this home button, some effects we have on our computer, some loops, some presets, and the next it's a file browser. It's a cool feature. For example, you want to find some Bram, and Cubase will show you your Bram samples on your computer, and you can take it and drag and drop on your timeline, or right mouse, insert into track, and you can make some manipulations. Let's talk about this window and these buttons. You can hear this play, stop, preview, and preview cycle, and these buttons. Now, if we click on our sample, it's not playing, and we need to click this play button. But if we click on this button, our sample is playing automatically. And now we see that this sample is 100, but our tempo is faster. So if we click on this button, Align Beats to Project, now our samples will play with this tempo, with the tempo of our project. Let's check. Let's unclick. Original tempo and tempo of our project. Okay, stop. Let's drag and drop this sample. And let's delete these samples. Remove selected tracks. Now we have our sample on the timeline and we see this wave. It means that now our sample on a musical mode. We can click here and disable musical mode. It means that our sample now it's playing on this tempo, in the tempo of our project. Let's unclick, and now it's an original tempo. And if we click on our sample, we can mute our sample here, we can fine-tune, we can transpose it. It's a very cool feature for sound design. We can invert phase, we can change volume, we can fade in and fade out. And if we double click on this button, we can choose, for example, shakers. Okay. And let's make it. And the VST, we can add our instrumental tracks here. For example, contact. Or here, add the instrumental track. And you can see it here. Import samples into the Cubase. There are several ways to import samples. The first, it's a file, import, audio file, and let's check our sample. The next, it's a drag and drop. Okay. The next, it's a media, file browser, and we can choose our samples here. And drag and drop. And the final and my favorite, it's a media bay. Let's click on F5 button. And when you open it for the first time, and if you have more than one disk, you need to click here, right mouse, and rescan disk. And Cubase calculates all the data on your PC. And after a while, you will have all samples and you can listen it very easy. For example, I want to find some shaker. And I can drag and drop this sample. And you can see these buttons like in this media. They are the same. And you can customize your media bay here and here. I like this version of media bay, but if you want to make some changes, you can do it. If you want to add instrument track, there is several ways to do it. First, and the simplest is right-click, add instrument track, and you need to choose what instrument you want to add. For example, Retrolog, it's a synthesizer from Cubase. Let's add, and OK. And we can play through the MIDI keyboard, we can choose our presets and so on. The next, you can click on this plus, choose instrument, and choose your instrument here, and add. And again, we have this Retrolog. The next, we can click on the media, best instruments, and choose Retrolog here, or Pet Shop, or another instrument what would you like. For example, Retrolog, click and drag and drop. And now we have this Retrolog synth in this area. Okay, let's talk about audio recordings. If you want to record your voice for a song or for some sound design, it's very easy. You need to click in this area, right click, add the audio track, and you need to choose your microphone. In my case, it's an Ermi Babyface Pro, and I choose this analog one mono. And I'm choose this mono configuration, and I can name it, but I will make it in the future, and add the track. Or you can click on this plus, audio, choose your microphone, and choose your configuration. It's mono, and add the track. If you click on this monitor button, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can listen what you're saying and so on. When you record a voice, you need to check a level of a signal to avoid a signal distortion or clipping. And if you have a condenser microphone, you need to click this button. Let's try something. Let's add an audio track, analog. Okay. And for example, I'd like to make some zombie voice for horror film. Let's record and make some sound design manipulations. Let's click on this record button. Okay, now we have this zombie voice. Let's duplicate it, Alt, and let's make some changes. Let's transpose it. Let's cut. Okay. Transpose. Let's add some EQ. Some OTT. Okay, some compression. Okay, and we have this. And now we have this. Or we can make it funny. Godzilla voice. Okay, maybe you have a track and you want to record your voice on this track. Let's drag and drop some track. Let's record something. And now we have this. And we have a click, add some limiter. And we can make again some manipulations, but mixing is for the next videos. In this video we will record a guitar, an acoustic guitar and electric guitar. Acoustic guitar we will record using a microphone. It's a Neumann TLM. And again, let's click on this, add the audio track. Let's choose our mic, mono, double, double. This to the left, this to the right, and that's the middle, to record our acoustic guitar. Okay, the next, let's solo it. And the melody. And if you want to record your electric guitar, you can click here, add the audio track, and you need to choose another input in your sound card. In my case, it's an LX3. Configuration mono, stereo out, and OK. Let's duplicate it. Duplicate. This is to the left, this is to the right, and it's a middle. And let's color it, for example, green. And this is electric guitar. Okay, let's solo it. Let's record it. Okay, now this part. And the melody. And you see that now we have this clip. It's very bad. And let's fix it. Gain a little bit lower. And now we have two types of guitar recordings. This is from microphone. This is directly through the sound card. Okay, and we can make some manipulations, so we can group them, group to selected tracks, stereo. This is our guitar electric bass. But okay, mixing is for the next videos. You can click and choose a guitar. Like here, choosing an acoustic guitar. Where is it? Okay. There are several ways to create an MIDI track. For example, or the instrumental track. The first way, you can click on this draw. Click on this object selection and double click in this area. The next, you can choose this draw, check snap is on, okay, and draw this MIDI event. You can click on this record button. Let's deactivate metronome. But check, if you click stop, this MIDI event disappears. So we need to put one note on a MIDI keyboard like this, and this MIDI event is created. Let's delete this information. If we want to zoom this area like this, we need to put our mouse in this area, click left mouse, and we can zoom in and zoom out. Or we can click on H or G on our keyboard. And now we have this empty MIDI event. Let's create some chord. For example, C minor. We can click on this draw. Let's check that snap is on, and for example 1-1. And let's write our chord. Let's take another instrument for this, for example piano. Now we have this C minor chord. Okay, what we can do? We can take our notes and make our velocity higher or lower. Okay, and we can press Ctrl Shift and left mouse and we can change our velocity like this. For example, I'd like to take this note and make it 1 octave higher. Let's take our note and we can click left mouse and make something like this. Or we can take our note, press Shift and up. And now we have this note 1 octave higher. For example, I'd like to double this note. Let's take it, Ctrl-C, Ctrl-V, and Shift down. And now we have this note 1 octave down. Now we have this chord. I'd like to make it 1 octave down. Let's take all our notes, Shift down, and make it longer. For example, like this. Now we have this. Maybe I need to make it softer. Ctrl Shift, left mouse. Now we have this soft piano. Maybe softer. I'd like to add another chord from this bar. Let's take this event and make it longer. Okay, we can take our chords, Ctrl-C. Let's check snap is on. Okay, Ctrl-V. And for example, we would like to make it more aggressive. Ctrl-A, Shift-Ctrl, left mouse, like this. And this chord, for example, F. And you can see that now Cubase says it's a minor chord. We can click on this major. And now we have F major. Or you can click in this area on chord editing, for example, major, and you need a G major, for example. And you can click here and you'll have this G major chord. Take this chord, Ctrl-C, Ctrl-V, and up. And now we have this G chord. But maybe I'd like to make this chord, for example, like Sus4. Let's click here. Let's take, for example, split. And this chord I'd like to make major. And now we have this. If you click on this button and make something like this, you'll see that now this area is white and there is no sound. But MIDI notes are still here. If we continue our MIDI, you can deactivate MIDI notes, you can draw another notes. Let's delete these notes. And again, you can use this chord editing. Just click here, and you will have this major chord. Maybe you need another chord. You click here. Now you have this minor. You can take these notes, make them higher, make them louder, this softer, and so on. Let's talk about quantize and length. For example, you have something like this, and you need to quantize it. Press Ctrl A. Let's select all our files, and you can click here, Q, apply quantize, or on your keyboard, Q. And if you have this one, or maybe you need another, press Q, and OK. If we need to change a length, click here, length, go here and fix lengths. And now we have all our notes like 1/8. Maybe we need 1/1, click here, fix length, OK. Now it's all 1. And if you take a note, you can change its pitch, velocity, and so on. Let's talk about modulation. Let's delete our piano and let's take a string library and let's make some chord. For example, let's go to chord editing and let's write C minor again. Let's click on this. And now we have this minor chord. Let's make this 1 octave higher. Let's duplicate this note. Let's take all notes and make them velocity higher. Now we have this. Let's make it a little bit longer. And now we have no modulation. Let's click on this snap off. Let's take this draw. And let's write some modulation. Okay, now we have this. Let's make some changes. Let's choose all notes. Click on this split, snap on, split. Take these notes and click on this major. Let's delete this. Let's write another modulation. For example, like this. And now we have this. Let's take these notes and make them 1 octave down and maybe a little bit softer. And now we have this. If you don't see this velocity and modulation in your window, you can click on this plus, create control line, and choose your modulation or velocity. And another interesting thing in a Cubase is retrospective recordings. What it means? Let's play something on a MIDI keyboard. Oh boy, I forgot to record it. It's not a problem. I can click on this button and now we have all MIDI notes that I'm played on a MIDI keyboard. Cubase remembers everything. Audio export and render in place. First of all, let's record some music example. Let's quantize it. Now we have this MIDI information, but we want to have it as an audio file. We need to go Edit and Render in Place. We can make some changes here on the settings and go Edit, Render with current settings. And now we have this audio file. Let's activate this file again. Let's double it. Let's delete this low information here and high information here. It's high, it's low, and maybe it's red, and this is green. And let's mute this. Now have high and low. Okay, or maybe we can double this notes. One octave down. We want to export these files. First of all, we need to choose which area we need to export. So we need to go here on this area and we need to choose it. For example, I want to save all these files, or maybe a half, or maybe this part. We need to go File, Export, and Audio Mixed Down. And here you see Single. We can save one file. For example, Stereo Out. It's a mix. We can choose a path, file type, and its sample rate and bit depth, and click Export. Or we can choose a multiple. Unclick this Stereo Out and choose this high and low. And let's export audio files. Let's drag and drop them to our project. Different tracks. And we have these two audio files. This is our high strings. It's a MIDI. This is an audio. And this is low strings, MIDI. And an audio file. Time stretch and audio transpose in Cubase. Let's add an audio track. And let's record something. Okay, now we have this sound. If we click on this audio file, we see this transpose. Okay, and audio stretch. You can click on this object selection button and choose this size applies time stretch. Deactivate snap on, and you can stretch your audio file. Make it longer or make it shorter. Let's talk about Chord Assistant. Now we have this Retrolog synth from Cubase. And let's add a chord track. Click on this button, Retrolog. Let's take this draw. Click here, 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 and here. Let's take this object selection. Double click. And we can choose our tonality. For example, C major now. Maybe we want minor. for example, E minor. Let's take this. Now this is our tonality, and for this chord we will take C, double click, G, and D. Okay, now we have this. You can take these elements and drag and drop on this retro log timeline, and you will have these MIDI notes. Let's delete them, and you can change your tonality. For example, again, let's take a major and C major. You can listen every chord. You can take and drag and drop. Something like this. And the next very interesting thing, it's a chord pads. Go to Project, Show Hide Chord Pads, Ctrl-Shift-C. And here you can see a lot of pads. In this area you see these chords or circle of fifths. You can choose your tonality, minor, major. You can choose your root note. You can make some manipulations with transpose, and again you can play using your keyboard, using these pads, or like this. Let's delete this. Or you can drag and drop. Let's talk about control room and A-B reference. What it means. For example, I have two different tracks, and I'd like to make a comparison between this red track and this green track in this part, for example. And it's very easy to do, using only one click and control room. Let's check. How to make it? Let's go to Studio, Audio Connections. Let's go to Outputs and deactivate your audio device. The next, go to Control Room. Enable your control room. Let's delete this. Remove and remove. Okay, you will see this blank window. Right click, edit a monitor, stereo, okay. And you need to choose your sound card. In my case, it's RME Babyface. And you need to click and add the EQ. And stereo, okay. Let's rename it, for example, reference, okay. And this cue must be not connected. We need to go to our reference, for example, this red. This is reference track. And we need to go routing and make stereo out, no bus. Click Edit Channel. And we need to go to Cues. You will see this Sense and Cue Sense. And click on this button. You will see this window, Control Room. There's Media, Meter, and Control Room. Click on this reference and click on this cues. And let's check what we've done. And now, if we click on this mix, we will listen this track, green, and C1. This is our reference. Let's check. Or you can customize this button, go Edit, Key Commands, and find Source. And now we see this Select Control Room Source. Double click here, plus Assign, OK. And now if we press plus on our keyboard, we will switch between our reference track and our another track that we create, for example. It's very easy, it's very fast, it's a very cool feature in a Cubase. How we can add a send channel. This is our original sound. And how we can add a send effects. For example, let's add effect track. For example, Revelation. Okay. Let's click on this audio 1 and we see this sends. Click and choose this Revelation. Activate. Let's solo. And for example, for this. Again, click, choose, and choose our amount. Let's deactivate this, solo, or we can click on this button, Sends, and choose Revelation. If you have a sample, for example like this, and you want to check what note it plays, you can click on a Vary Audio and edit Vary Audio. This is a D note. Oh, maybe you have something like this. Double click, edit Vary Audio. And you will see all notes in this piano. And you can click on this function and extract MIDI. And you will have these notes from this audio file. Let's make music using our knowledge from previous videos. For example, let's make a track in a trap style. Let's click on F5. Let's go to our samples. For example, Production Master Antidote, Mainstream Trap. And let's take some drum loop, kick and snare loop from this page. For example, this. And let's drag and drop. Now we see this wave, that's a musical mode. Let's change our tempo, enter, and let's delete this mode. Let's duplicate. And let's add some hi-hats. And again, for example, hi-hats loops. Let's listen. And let's drag and drop. Let's delete this musical mode. Now we have this. For example, 0, 0. But let's go to our input, and let's take a G gain, make this volume lower. Now we have this headroom, and for example, limiter. It's from Cubase, standard limiter from Cubase. And I'll take real phones because I'm now on the phones. I'll take my Sennheiser, normal, load. Okay. Oh, and I need to make this volume lower. Cool. And let's save it. For example, trap. I'd like to add bass. Let's take it, for example, from this. Right-click, create sampler track. Okay, now we have this sampler track. And we need to choose this D node because we have this D node here as the root. And we need to change the here. Now we have this. I have a MIDI keyboard, so I can play. Let's click Ctrl A, choose everything, and change our position. Let's metronome on, and let's play some bass. Okay, and I forgot to click on a record. It's not a problem. Click on this button, and now we have our bass notes. Ctrl A, and we need to quantize it. Let's check what we have. So this Mm. Okay. Now we have this. Okay. The next, I'd like to add some brass. Let's go to cymatics, savage drums, brass, one shot. Okay. It's musical mode, unclick. Okay, and maybe some loops. Let's find some loops. Okay, let's drag and drop. It's musical mode, it's okay. Maybe let's delete these notes. Delete. Now we have this. Let's listen. No. Remove this. Okay. Some additional. But we delete these notes. Delete. Let's try. Let's check how it sounds. Okay, maybe some vocal chops. Let's go here.
Hey. Yeah. Black. Jump.
Let's take loops. For example, this. Let's try. Okay. Let's delete this. Let's maybe delete this and transpose this one octave down. Now we have this. Okay. Let's add some additional elements in this part. Maybe we can take this synth. No, it's very aggressive. Maybe let's take this and create sampler track again. Let's take this note. Okay, that's for the future. The next, for example, let's change this position. Maybe we can take these notes and this. This is our beginning. Now we need to add some drum loops, build-ups. Yeah. For example, this. Okay, perfect. Musical mode, delete. Let's delete this. Delete this. Musical mode. Musical mode. That's right. And we need to find some interesting perk fills. Okay, this is perfect. Let's listen. Okay, and for this boom, we need to add maybe vocal chant.
Hey, yeah, black. Hey, ba, ba, ooh.
This boo. This boo.
Ooh. Ooh.
Oh, maybe like this. Okay. And change our position. Now we can add Pro Q. Let's write some modulation. Okay, now we have this. Cool. We can add, for example, Kashmir, complete edition, drum loops, by genre, hip hop. Let's check this Stumpy Organic. Cool. For example, for this part. Okay. And we can take this X house. Let's click on this musical mode. We don't need it. Okay, and I'd like to add drum. fills, tom fill. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now we need to add some risers. FX risers. Okay, for example, this. Let's take 8. Let's take the beginning. Musical mode. And this is F. We need to transpose it 3 because we're on a D note. Let's listen. And we can take this boo to the final. Perk loops. For example, we can make a pan, auto pan. Okay. Let's find some interesting sounds, or we can add some cymbal. Or we can make this. Maybe maybe rights. Yeah. Let's try this. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let's change this automation. Pan left. Then right. And again left, right. Okay. That's our right. Okay. Foley. Okay. We can go to Kashmir, fix X-housed. Yeah, for example, this. Let's drag and drop. Let's go to audio, process, reverse. And it will be our riser in the final. Okay. Let's delete this. Okay, let's save. And this is our kick, shift, and mouse. This is hi-hat. And we can click on this button. This is our kick. This is our bass. Where is it? Oh no, this is what is hi-hat. Shift. This is bass. Double click. This is our bass. And so on. Don't forget to save it. Okay. And for the final, you can add the OTT. Let's delete this limiter, Pro Q, Pro L, oversampling. and Magneto, for example. Now I'd like to listen on my monitors. I deactivate my real phones. Okay, after a small manipulations, we have this. Okay, friends, I hope this video was helpful for you. Please like, subscribe to the channel, and you can visit my Patreon page. There is a lot of useful information, some courses, tutorials, Cubase projects, and so on. So, ciao.